Right, we've got limited disk space, but I've managed to drag everyone here together. We've got Peter, say hello.
Hello.
And we've also got Aaron. How wonderful to have you here. Say hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Aaron. I mean, there is only one thing that we can discuss at this point, and that is obviously the fabulous fashion of Kamala Harris. What's your stance, Aaron?
Her
Don't you think she's
fashion?
wonderful? Yeah, don't you think she's wonderful? Style icon, wouldn't you say?
If you're really going for the hooker look, yeah, definitely, yeah,
Oh, golly.
sure.
Ooh.
Right,
Maybe going all the way.
anyway, I just
What
really...
hookers do you visit?
Ones with a good sense of humor, I imagine. She's quite prone to a good laugh. What I wanted to ask was, who do we think is going to win? What do we think of the election? Any thoughts? Go for it. I know what you're going to say, Aaron. So what about you, Peter? How about you?
Oh, which part?
Who do you think is going to win? The presidential election.
I know. I was thinking before answering. I was about to say Kang, but then I'm not sure if the Simpsons joke would really fly.
Oh, right. Yes, I see.
I assume Biden.
Why?
Why? Because why not? I mean, it's a crapshoot. Just pick one and run with it.
Is
Put your
that
money
who
down.
you would choose yourself?
Yeah, probably at this point.
Oh, well, a strong, committed answer there. Thank you. I think you've summed up all of the enthusiasm that any sane person has at the moment. Let's go over to Aaron. Aaron, what do you think?
I actually don't know.
You don't know?
What?
We used to be certain.
What?
Exactly.
No, I actually don't know. I mean, there's a lot of I guess factors that that to consider in these things that's really murkying up the waters as to who I believe will actually win. So there's a few things. So for obviously, from a lot of the polling, right? Trump is actually trailing Biden, by about, I think, somewhere in between 3 to 7 points on a lot of the swing states that he has to actually win. Now the problem is that what we've obviously learned from 2016 is that these polls are never, were not right. So the big question mark in my head is that, okay, since 2016, these polling, I guess, institutions actually change their modeling, I guess, formulas in order to actually, I guess, compensate for obviously the blunder that they all made in 2016. So that's a big question mark to me as to how accurate, the polling is. If the polling is actually quite accurate, then, it looks like it is going to be a Biden presidency. But, if it's not, and, then it would, I think we might have another repeat of 2016. Interestingly enough, I remember after the 2016 election, Tommy Lahren actually, made a comment about a fairly flippant comment about polling, but there's a lot of the truth into it, and she kind of like said something along the lines of that the reason why the pollings are not correct is because of the fact that Republicans have jobs, and really that's why we don't respond. We don't respond to polls, and there's actually a certain element of truth in that. On top of that as well, the other thing to consider is basically the what they call the enthusiasm factor. So if you actually look at the rallies that Trump's been having these past couple of days, and the guy is an absolute machine. You have to admit he does rallies after rallies after rallies, compared to Joe Biden, who's now bunkered up in his space. So if you look at the a lot of the Trump rallies, like I think the most recent one, people travel, thousands of people went to a almost like an airfield in Omaha, Nebraska, to actually see him and to actually go there, and they actually got stuck there in the cold, because they couldn't get buses or something like that, to the site. So yeah, but he, as you can see, he drives a lot of enthusiasm. And then you compare that to the Biden rallies, where they literally have space for people to sit around in the marked what they call chair on in the mark chairs with little circles around the thing. So the other thing also to look at is, if you look at the town halls, for instance, right? When they canceled the second debate, and you look at, and both of them I guess town halls at the same time. The Trump town hall had a lot more audience and people in it compared to the Biden town hall in Pennsylvania. So where you could literally count in one hand on two hands the number of people that were actually in the Biden in the Biden town hall. So judging by that, if you take that into account, I think that there's definitely I think Trump will win, but yet again, I don't know.
Do you think Trump deserves to win?
Oh hell yeah, I think he definitely does deserve to
Then
win.
why isn't he winning in the polls?
Because, as I told you before, because of the fact that I don't think that the polls actually take into account a good cross section of the American public.
Peter, do you have any idea why you think Biden would deserve to win?
Well, that feels like a loaded question.
Well, I'm just trying to ascertain why these candidates actually deserve to win. I think in all of this, actual policy decisions of how they would envision how the country would be in 4 years' time has been quite thin on the ground in this debate. So why any candidate deserves to win, I think, is a quite hard question to answer at this point. We have our instincts, but beyond that,
You could probably argue that probably neither deserve to win,
Oh.
but I guess feels that maybe that there's enough of a pushback against Trump that people are looking for something different. But then I don't know, that might just be like the media bias that I'm buying into there, or social media bias.
Well, I think there certainly is social media bias as well as a media bias, which I think will lead into the bigger issue here that if Trump loses, I think there'd be a strong case for Trump supporters to feel as though they've been cheated out of it because of an establishment that was clearly against this outsider candidate. It feels a bit perverse to describe the president of the United States as an outsider candidate, but he clearly is because he's been ostracized by his political class, hasn't he?
It depends, though. I mean, I don't think. I don't think. I mean, if you look at the 2008 election when Bush, oh well, not Bush, McCain, John McCain lost to Barack Obama. The Republicans didn't, go up in arms. Like, the Republicans accepted, the results of the election, and then we moved on. Life goes on.
Yes, but was the level of toxicity where it is right now?
Probably not. No, I don't think it was. I know that it's definitely kind of like brewed a lot more during the Obama period because I think it really started when Obama actually forced down Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, down people's throats. And he obviously used the power that he had in Congress back then. And I think, to be perfectly honest, I think the tipping point to that was basically when Ted Kennedy died. And then his seat, out of which you would think would be like a very safe Democrat seat, right? Flipped unexpectedly to Republicans, and then which basically caused them their supermajority. And because of that, what they basically did, I don't know if you remember this, but what they basically did was that they actually forced the Affordable Care Act through, because they didn't want Scott Brown to be sworn in, because they knew that as soon as Scott Brown gets sworn in, they lose their supermajority, and therefore they can actually filibuster the Affordable Care Act and it will never become law. So they actually rammed that through, forced that through, and I think that kind of like started this slippery slide of effectively by the disintegration of bipartisanship. So so I guess that to answer your question, I don't think that I honestly do think that if Trump loses on next week, I don't think that the Republicans will go up in arms. I don't think there's any concern that the Republicans will storm the Capitol or anything like that. As long as it's a fair election, and I mean, And when I say fair election, I mean by that is that, as long as there's no evidence of, let's say, ballot tampering or anything like that, I think the Republicans will be fine to accept the results. I know for a fact though that they won't accept is basically the media, and they will always blame the media for their bias and whatnot, because they clearly are.
Well, yes. I'm surprised to think that you don't think that people will be up in arms about this. This has been an exceptionally high voter what do I mean to say? Sending in your ballots early, that postal vote system that they've got going on, that's huge. It's never been done on this scale before, and it's obviously open to fraud and abuse. It hasn't been in the past, but it's been on a lot smaller scale. I think that there are so many vectors here that you can identify as ways that this election could have been fraudulent, and the establishment appears to be against Trump. So I imagine that the Republicans will have a valid grievance. Vice versa, I also feel that the Democrats are so assured of their own victory here that if it turns out on the night that they don't win, they'll also cry foul play, which both scenarios I think are very dangerous. The only thing that could possibly save them from one another is being so tired that both sides just want to concede so they can have a night in their own bed.
But interestingly enough, though, I mean, that's the whole. I think the reason why they haven't accepted Trump or the Trump presidency was the fact that nearly 4 years ago in 2016, they were 100%, I guess, convinced that Hillary was going to win, and there was no way that that President Trump was going to ever win that election, because the polls said so. The polls are as high as like 92% chance of Hillary winning and 80% chance of Trump, right? So to a large extent, I think this is the reason why. If you ask me, why are they why has Trump caught the ire of the Democratic the Democratic liberal left, and it's because of that. It's because in the eyes of in their eyes, it was the last 4 years was a stolen presidency. It should be a Hillary Clinton presidency, and that was stolen from them. They that's what they expected, and that was stolen from them. That was a lot of it was the media's fault, because they hyped it up that she was pretty much in the White House. I remember that they even released the what do you call that, the headlines or the front page news articles that were already pre-written about congratulations, Madam President, which never ever was published. So I think that's the reason why they were upset with it. And now, and of course, I think that, to kind of like inflame that as well, is the fact that you had obviously two Supreme Court justices in the presidency nominated. Third one that was just recently confirmed. Federal court judges seats being filled left, right, center. And what else is there? The stripping of effectively the Affordable Care Act, and building the border wall. They've actually been in a losing streak for the past 4 years. And on top of that as well, you also had a booming economy, low jobless rates, unemployment, and so on and so forth. So I think that they're really pissed, and this is why they're doing everything they can to actually negate this Trump presidency.
Well, certainly losers' consent seems to be absent. If I can just pontificate for a moment, I think Douglas Murray said it best when he said that, to paraphrase him, no one would want their child to grow up to be like Donald Trump. No one looks at him and thinks, golly gosh, I wish my child would have the demeanor and character of that man. He is an inspiration to me. But he does fulfill a purpose, which is to be ruthless and put America first, which he does in the world stage, literally, figuratively. And I don't think anyone could possibly have done what he did with China and that trade war. He certainly pushed that agenda harder than I think most people would. He fulfills these kind of things. Yes.
So in which case, then you kind of like ask the question, right? I mean, who do you think deserves to win? Then why do given all of that, with that thing that you said, why don't you think Trump deserves to win?
I do think he deserves to win. I would support him. I think that I think that we lie at a perilous time in in the world. I think that the unipolar moment from the collapse of the USSR is vanishing away with the rise of China. I also think that there are ongoing issues inside our own multicultural societies that President Macron in France is highlighting. That's demonstrable across Western democracies. There aren't that many Western democracies, and I think that we should be strong and put our values forward and not surrender. And I also think that Trump, gauche as he is someone who has reinvigorated countries and given them a sense of purpose, mission, and the ability to defend their own borders for the first time in a long time. I think that his election, along with Brexit, have brought around a new political age that breaks with a technocratic, new Labour, old style central conservatism that we saw before. So I would support him, I would vote for him. And when it comes to intersectional politics, which seems to be the next big internal struggle, I'm firmly against the idea of re-racializing our societies and would opt for a unitary social model. Rather than multiculturalism, I think that we need a monoculturalism, and that is an integration. It doesn't mean that culture sticks or stays, and it often changes. I think the phrase is, the more spice you add to the soup, it's obviously going to change its flavor. Read into that what you will. But I think societies that are united will be stronger in the future than those that are divided.
I think you need to go to Peter now about that.
Any ideas, Peter?
By the way, Simon, I'm so proud of you. You know, I knew I was going to get to turn into it, to become a Trumpian Republican soon.
Oh, lovely. Peter, any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, do you feel happy with yourself, Simon? Feeling comfortable?
I wish that I had a better person to pick, but why not? I don't know why politics needs to be boring. You can hear this. I've watched a Trump rally. It looks like fun, even in the cold.